Ali Armorsmith swings that happened earlier on in the game to the face made the difference. But we're going to go ahead and jump into the last game of round number 1. This is DocPwn versus Nalguidan, and this is Mage versus a Paladin deck.
Yeah, this matchup is really interesting to me, pretty much from every perspective. The side Gunther Mage really has changed how Mage has operated on this very value-oriented aspect where it plays fairly dangerously with its life total and with its board presence. It has a lot of ways to clear out the board, has a lot of ways to draw extra cards, and while one of its issues can be consistency, when this deck hits its curve, it's a force to be reckoned with because of its ability to handle opposing pressure and apply that pressure of its own. So for Nalguidan, in this matchup, he does need to find a window of opportunity to really seize the pressure that he has rolling. If he can't do that, that gives DocPwn the time to utilize the extra turns from Ice Block, to utilize the value from Medivh, and build up a board state that will eventually fight back and take over. But it's not quite that simple. DocPwn has to be looking for the right turns to use those powerful resources.
Yeah, DocPwn rocking the style, man. The Quebec hat, the has-been t-shirt, and his sweatshirt that he was rocking when he qualified for the World Championship.
That's right. Hanging out with him in Bahamas was so much fun. He's just a very relaxed, fun-loving guy.
He's an adult.
He's an adult. And he doesn't really take himself too seriously, but this is a guy who has a lot of competitive background. He's talked about competing in games pretty much his whole life. It's not something that he does in terms of to prove himself. He just enjoys trying to up his game at every step of the way. So while he won't always 100% focus on winning as his major goal, competing to him brings an enjoyment to the game that it wouldn't otherwise have if he did not compete. He actually competed at the Chess World Championships when he was just 18 years old.
Yeah, represented Canada, a nation not necessarily known for their chess players, but definitely a feat in itself. Nalguidan, on the other hand, he's probably one of the most storied players from South America. From Argentina, he plays for the Argentinian Hearthstone Global Games team. He's got multiple top 8s in Copa America events. He's qualified for most of the playoffs and is one of the top point earners of all time from South America. So he's definitely a player that, while is not going to the World Championship like DocPwn, still has that name recognition.
Yeah, he does a lot of monthly meta reports also. He does writes them in Spanish for Código Gamers on their website. And, you know, you mentioned his storied past. He's got quite a few finishes under his belt. He actually made top 8 of Copa America in 2017. He was top 4 of the ESL Hearthstone Legendary Series way back in 2015 in Katowice. And here you see him qualified for Winters. And he qualified with a couple of pretty solid win rates. 61.3% with Pirate Warrior over 80 games, 65.2% with Quest Rogue over 66 games. But finding himself here in game number 5 with a Control Paladin featuring N'Zoth. We'll see how he pilots this, because those other 2 decks very much different than what this deck's trying to do.
Yeah. A little bit of an oops there from DocPwn as he burns a card.
You know, that's something that I spoke to DocPwn with in the Bahamas about as well, is
burning cards?
Well, just the long-term game plan play. He likes to be aggressive with a lot of his decks, and my major concern seeing him during the playoff portion was his play with Reno Warlock. And I spoke with him a lot about that there, and he was very candid. He said, I love the deck, but I lost my focus while I was there. The days were long. I found myself getting physically fatigued as those long games continued to happen over and over again. And he lamented the fact that he oftentimes would misstep with lots of decisions in his hand, that sometimes he plays by instinct and he's looking at all these decisions and he's like, I don't know what to do.
I found myself sitting there in that chair, playing my match, longing for a giant smoked meat poutine.
Do they all do Canadian things? All the Canadians? Heard Sidonia say it.
Poutine's even bigger in Quebec than it is in the rest of Canada. It's very popular.
You've talked to me a lot about poutine.
I have. It is my favorite food. Because you can put anything on it. You can put all of your other favorite foods on it.
If you could just combine favorite foods with other favorite foods. That's
Combine
like
favorite foods with French fries, cheese curds, and gravy. It's going to be good.
That sounds like a Murloc Paladin deck. It's just aggressive, it's mid-range, it's control. It's got everything.
Wise words. Murlocs are very much like poutine.
Yeah. Speaking of having everything, Nalguidan's endgame is...
The menagerie.
It is something to behold. That is a lot of gas that he's got moving forward.
That mages also pack a lot of gas. Medivh the Guardian. I got my eye on that bad boy.
It's a perfect turn to coin it.
That party animal.
Contest the Curator. He's got Flame Strike to start getting that major value from Atiesh. And looking for the ultimate turn with Pyroblast, but Tyrion right off the top.
It's pretty good.
That is huge.
There is no polymorph in DocPwn's deck. A lot of these slower Discover Mage decks will run a copy of polymorph.
I wonder.
But DocPwn has decided against it.
We've seen a lot of the control decks moving that direction as well, where they take a nod to the aggression that they've expected, while seemingly the entire field has moved towards this direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a tough tournament for aggressive decks, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Is Tyrion the right play? Quickly. It has to feel like it.
Well, something we haven't touched on either is the Eye for Night and Nalguidan's hand. In this matchup, if he's able to pop Ice Block at a very low life total, that's a dangerous position for DocPwn because it means that he would have to heal himself before he can deliver damage to Nalguidan in that spot. And since Alexstrasza is such a major tool for him to deliver that damage to begin with, when he has to use that card defensively, it requires him to not only have a clean board, but also to have the Alexstrasza reserved for defense, and then also have the gas to follow that up. It's a very tough spot for DocPwn if Hydrologist discovers Eye for an Eye.
DocPwn actually had a really solid clear there with Fireball, Ping, plus the Medivh's Valet. But actually decided to go for a Flame Strike, which feels kind of weird because he only clears off one minion. He only clears off the 3/3. He also damages the 3/7. But he's effectively trading a clean board and a 2/3 on his side for a 7-drop over a 4-drop.
I think a lot of that is the nod to the fact that he will sometimes have to use Alexstrasza defensively, as well as the fact that this just gets a bigger minion on board. 7-drop slot has a lot of powerful minions behind it. And I think Curator is a little bit under the stat curve of the typical body you see, but I don't really mind it either way. Here's Alex, but
there's a ton of healing in this Paladin deck.
Yeah. Now, in Nalguidan's deck, we do only see one copy of Forbidden Healing.
Ragnaros, the Light Lord, True Silver Champion.
Plus, he's got to worry about the board. If the board slips away, DocPwn could find himself getting that Ice Block popped very quickly.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of burst from the Control Paladin deck, but those minions hit hard.
Yeah. DocPwn taking his time, playing a little bit slowly. Even though he qualified for the World Championship, he still sometimes considers himself an underdog. Take a look.
These competitions are really, really important. I'm not the guy to be afraid of. In my mind and in my head, I'm still the underdog there, going there against all these good players.
It takes a while before you get into that mindset where you feel like you're an equal to the players that have been playing for years and years and years at the highest competitive level. Even though DocPwn made a name for himself in winter, and we're going to see more of him at the World Championship and, potentially even spring or summer if he continues to qualify, it still takes a while before you feel like you're at that level.
It definitely does. Like, I remember my first few years of competition, even though I was having some success, it took a long time before I felt like I was on par with the players who consistently had that success time after time. And not sure I ever 100% felt that I was at that level, but I can definitely understand the mindset. It's tough to outright call yourself one of the best if you don't have the historied performances to back that up.
That's an interesting play from Nalguidan. I think he pointed the 8-12 at the Alexstrasza. I think he forgot about the Curator taunt. because this Spike Ridge Steed onto the Tyrion, while it makes this a really big minion, it doesn't make as much sense unless he just really wants that Alexstrasza to trade in.
Well, I think either way, he kind of gets the job done. You know, it's very difficult for DocPwn to really push through an 8-12 with just burn. And even
that's true.
Even in the case he does, Nalguidan's got backup for it. So I think really any way you slice it, an 8-12 taunt that drops a 2-6 taunt and an Ashbringer is about as good as this turn was going to get.
Time runs out on me.
The N'Zoth to back it up as well. This is a major push we're going to see from Nalguidan over the next couple turns. And notice he didn't panic when he saw the Alexstrasza. He simply took his time. Now that DocPwn has used this Pyroblast, the game's getting a little bit scary. A taste of things to come, perhaps.
Yeah.
But that is the play that Nalguidan wanted to see, was a lot of damage pointed at face. This allows him to use Forbidden Healing to get out of range and start buying the value that he's invested into his board. His last turn of foregoing this healing and risking dying to a crazy combination of burn spells ended up with this style of board state.
Yeah, and DocPwn gets N'Zoth from that Pyroblast and the RTS charge, which is very below average for 10 drops. I mean, you also do have the potential to get Cthulhu or Yogg-Saron, which aren't great stat lines, but you can also get one of the Deathwing brothers.
Yeah.
Or Yasharaj.
Yeah.
Yasharaj.
Yashiraj, somehow.
It's
It's an interesting pronunciation you have there.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
It is.
So there goes Atiyesh, and DocPwn was not able to get too much board momentum with that weapon, with the Medivh.
Just simply the big stats that Nalguidan has provided. You know, that's one of the benefits of Spike Ridge Steed, is if you're able to land that in a spot where you're slightly ahead, you're suddenly very far ahead. And this is the kind of desperation that DocPwn is feeling in this matchup. He knows that burn straight to Nalguidan is the way he's going to win this game. He no longer has the liberty to fight for board very aggressively and win the battle there.
He's hoping that there's no Ragnaros the Light Lord. That True Silver Champion, he's going to be able to find the bird before True Silver Champion. That extra little bit of health is going to make the difference. He's hoping that Babbling Book's going to pick him up a Pyroblast. He's hoping for a lot of things right now.
And he's got 20 more points to go minimum, which is daunting at the
Minimum.
moment. I like to play from Nalguidan here too. Start to make headway. Start to pressure DocPwn. So this is a bit of a weird turn because he'd love to play the True Silver Champion and swing, but the Ashbringer will override it. So Nalguidan here very much valuing the potential healing from True Silver Champion, but
Yes, he just wants to.
does he want to override Ashbringer with this? Probably not.
I mean, he may feel like the game's going to end before he has a chance to use 5 charges of weapons.
He takes a second Tyrion, but I'm not sure that's needed.
No, I mean, he's got Eye for an Eye. So as soon as, like you mentioned earlier, he gets in the range to pop the block. If he can pop the block at 1, with Alexstrasza gone, it's effectively a checkmate situation because there's no way that DocPwn can deal damage.
Yeah, and we've been seeing a lot of the Gunther mages move towards Gluttonous Ooze rather than Harrison Jones in these spots to play as a defensive role. It's important to be able to protect your health total. The deck doesn't have a lot of ways to do it. Here, DocPwn has chosen to go with the Harrison Jones over the Gluttonous Ooze, and that could be a major difference in this game. The fact that card draw is largely not a benefit for DocPwn right now, but extra life would be great for him.
Free from Amber.
Get his own Tyrion.
What to do?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Good to get
Runs
Sarah.
out on me.
Freezing Potion has some merit here as well. Just the fact that he could stop incoming damage where now Nalguidan is perhaps relying on a specific attack to make that happen. And this is a really interesting play from DocPwn as well, where he's going to simply buy time and look to use that Harrison Jones afterwards. So he wants to set up a kill on the Stonehill Defender to check that secret, and then follow up by killing the Tyrion. If he kills the Tyrion immediately, could be redemption, could be getaway Kodo. It's a fairly brilliant play.
You can't get Tyrion for free from Amber, can you?
Just an 8-cost minion, right?
Brian Kibler is vigorously shaking his head at me.
If there's one person who's played that card more than anyone I know, it's definitely Brian Kibler, so. There you go. You cannot discover other classes cards, which has been informed.
Reporting for duty.
On another note, Kibler's going to take over cash in this match. I'm just kidding.
Second Meteor, but that is 1 mana over the line of casting these cards. If he wants to Harrison Jones. The Ashbringer, which I can tell you, he does.
I just don't know how much damage he has left in his deck. He has to have some damage left in his deck because it's not a play that DocPwn, I believe, would have went for. The Firelands Portal to the face, the Medivh's Valet to the face, if he didn't think that he had a potential to win with that game plan. I mean, there's a possibility that he didn't think he could win with the game plan of trying to play the value game and waiting it out, so this is the only thing he could have done. But he's just going in at the moment.
And that True Silver shut off if Frostbolt is in place. So I'm going to venture to say that DocPwn is playing to a second Frostbolt in this situation. And that's why he's going with the Blood Mage as well. As much as he would love to have that additional burn, he doesn't necessarily need that. What he needs is now Nalguidan to simply not heal. So this is a very aggressive stance that DocPwn has taken for several turns in a row. And frankly, that's the way he's going to win. He will not win if he fights this as a value battle.
Or Fireball is also an out.
Fireball will win games right now. Remember, he held onto that Fireball earlier and used the Flame Strike instead. A fairly poor value Flame Strike. It was.
Maybe he understood that the way he's going to win this matchup is by holding on to all of his burn and eventually checking out the face. There is a lot of healing in the deck, but once you get through it, it is limited. And you can hope that he doesn't draw it. He's got Forbidden Healing, which has been used. He's got True Silver Champions, which are shut off because of the Frostbolt. Last healing card is Ragnaros the Lightlord. And you can manipulate your opponent's board to make it so Ragnaros Lightlord is not guaranteed to hit the face.
This was also a really interesting play to me from Nalguidan's spot, where he chose to simply go with Tyrion rather than the N'Zoth. And so he foregoes 4 extra power on board as a result of that. I'm curious how much impact having a N'Zoth on board would make in terms of the pressure to DocPwn. Suddenly, clearing off a little bit of board pressure might give him enough time to keep himself healthy. Nalguidan's major goal right now should be to get DocPwn down to 1.
What to do?
So that eye for an eye represents checkmate.
Yeah, with the Owl Shots gone, there's no healing left. Now DocPwn has to make the decision. Are we going with Cabal Courier to try and find the last points of damage that we need, or do we need to clean up the board? Go for a Meteor play.
I like the Courier first.
Find the damage.
Runs out on me.
Well, Mirror Image, not terrible in this spot. If he could buy himself a couple of attacks versus that Tyrion.
He's got to choose between one, though. It's either Mirror Images or Mana Worm if he wants to cast that Meteor. And I feel like Mana Worm has the edge here.
Oh, but look
or
at
Mirror
that.
Image has the edge here.
Primordial Drake, straight back to hand from the Getaway Kodo.
And that's going to sweep his board.
But that still gives him a turn to draw Fireball. Because if Nalguidan does not use True Silver Champion, he's still in range of that second card.
It's going to come down to the wire.
So this is not as easy as a spot if it looks with simply the Primordial Drake. I think that takes the nod to True Silver then.
If you True Silver, you just can't get to all the minions, though. Yeah, you have the potential to leave extra damage on the board. I guess True Silver plus Stampeding Kodo allows for...
I mean, the Tyrion's still in the way, so the damage that DocPwn can get from that situation, fairly limited. That's looking like he's eyeing Aldor Peacekeeper instead.
Follow the rule. Reporting for duty.
Nice meteor positioning.
Oh, and the second fireball. Oh, gets drawn by DocPwn.
If he had played that Primordial Drake, he would be dead. That was the juiciest Primordial Drake board I've ever seen.
Wow.
I mean, at that point, it was pretty likely that he's gonna. We're getting what, 5, 6 cards left in the deck, judging by the size of that stack. Great heads-up play from Nalguidan.
And the True Silver champions very much outrace the potential from DocPwn's hero power. So he has to find another source of damage to win this game.
I don't know if he has it. We've seen both Medivh's Valets. We've seen the Pyroblast. Both Fireballs are in hand. We've seen one Frostbolt. Is there a second Frostbolt in the deck?
Time runs out on me.
He will be able to get minion damage in here.
Well, it's also really important how the damage is being spread in this spot. So that's Ashbringer for 5. That's 3 from the Aldor Peacekeeper. Nalguidan cannot set DocPwn to 1 with his current hand. So that eye for an eye is still shut off in this spot. He has to heal, and he has to take care of the board presence. This is a dire situation for Nalguidan.
There's some interesting mind games going on here as well. Not necessarily mind games, but some heads-up play from Nalguidan and from DocPwn. So DocPwn,
Well, Nalguidan has to heal. If he doesn't override the Ashbringer, he's dead.
yeah. But DocPwn pinged off the 1/1 instead of pinging face. Pinging face would have guaranteed the next turn, even with a True Silver charge, that he would be able to kill him with Fireball, Fireball, Ping. But I think what he was doing was making sure that Nalguidan couldn't set him to 1 with a Consecration, or couldn't pop the block and set him to 1 with a Consecration.
Must move quickly.
Is popping the block even important at this stage, though? That's the question I'm wondering.
I guess he could have set him to 1, and even with the Consecration, I don't get the
Nalguidan, that's it. That's game.
I guess he realized that he can't play around it.
The only situation here where DocPwn loses is if he does not check for eye for an eye first.
Almost out of
That is it.
cards.
And he does.
He actually also had a Firelands portal in the deck. But that was close, because as soon as Nalguidan gets him to 1 and sets up that eye for an eye, he basically wins. So that was very, very close. But at the end of the day, DocPwn's going to take it with the double Fireball. And he's going to move on to round number 2 with a 1-0 score.
Along